Hello, welcome to R&B Reviews. And continuing with our Halloween DVD reviews, I'm going to be reviewing the DVD box set called the Bela Lugosi Collection. It came out from Universal Pictures and it features 5 films that he did. Murder in Rue Morgue, The Black Cat, The Raven, The Invisible Ray, and Black Friday. Although, in my opinion, I think this should have been called the Bela Lugosi Boris Karloff Collection because Karloff appears in 4 of these 5 films and the 2 of them appear in 3 of them together. Now, the first film in this collection is called Murder in Rue Morgue from 1932. Lugosi is Dr. Miracle, who runs a sideshow at a carnival where he exhibits an ape called Eric, whom he claims he can talk to, and Miracle believes that man is a descendant from the ape. Now, one of the people who came to visit the show is Pierre Dupin, a medical student, and his fiancée Camille. Now, both Miracle and Eric take an interest in Camille, but Pierre senses danger. Meanwhile, Miracle is conducting experiments on human victims, and often they fail, and he has them dumped into the river. But soon Pierre becomes rather interested in these cases and is determined to solve them. Now, this film runs at a breezy hour-long length, and what I found the most interesting was that this film was the backgrounds of the city in this movie were done in the expressionist style, very similar to other horror films like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and the film was shot by Karl Freund, who also shot Dracula, and he went on to direct The Mummy. Now, here Freund demonstrates that the film does not have to be, shot in a static way. The camera has a lot of movement here and there throughout. And the film also has some humor, especially at the opening scene involving Pierre and his friends. Now, the film did not do very well at the box office when it first came out, and it's probably because Lugosi's character believed in evolution, and it may not have set well with audiences in the 1930s. But Bela Lugosi shows what a talented actor he was, and I think this is one of his best films. Now, the next film in the collection is The Black Cat from 1934. The opening titles say it is suggested by the Edgar Allan Poe story and not actually based on it. Now, it is the first film in which the 2 horror icons Lugosi and Karloff work together, and the story is about an author named Peter Allison and his newly wedded wife are on a train to Hungary. They share a compartment with Vitas Vertigas, played by Lugosi, who is visiting an old friend for revenge for betraying him during the First World War. And on the way there, they get into a road accident, and it just so happens that it takes place not too far from the man Lugosi is planning on seeing, Helmar Polsig, played by Karloff. Soon it turns into a cat-and-mouse game between the 2 men, and the fate of the couple lies in their hands. Now, this was my favorite film in the whole box set. This was one of the few times in which Lugosi and Karloff seemed to be equal in terms of character and screen time. The 2 didn't seem to be upstaging each other. And in the films that would come later, it's usually one is like the leading character and the other's there just for support. And the chemistry between the 2 of them was excellent. I mean, it is like I was watching 2 old enemies going at each other. And again, the camera shots are not too static, and some are very effective. And also, the film features a music soundtrack, which was often missing in early sound films because it could be time-consuming and it also could be expensive. But by the time this movie was shot, it could be done very effectively. The film includes what I think is Lugosi's best performance, including a scene where he finds out about his wife. And if the film has any weak points, I think it can be very hokey sometimes, and the editing I didn't think worked in some spots. For example, there's a scene where Vitas is explaining to Peter Allison why Polsig might have chosen the location for his house. The way it is staged, there is one camera angle with Lugosi, then Karloff in the center, and then Peter Allison. And the 2 of them seem to be doing all the talking while Karloff is just standing there looking like, okay, now what can I do to make it look like I'm doing something, I think it could have been better to include, close-ups of Lugosi and the other characters, to make it, a little bit more effective. But The Black Cat was a great watch, and I don't think it should be missed by any Lugosi or Karloff fans. The next film is The Raven, in which Lugosi plays the lead as Dr. Valen, a former surgeon. And when the judge's daughter is in an accident, Dr. Valen is coaxed out of retirement to perform surgery on her. And after the coming out of surgery, he develops a rather unhealthy infatuation with her. Meanwhile, a criminal named Bateman, played by Karloff, comes in to Valen and asks for him to change his appearance. But Valen deforms him and demands that Bateman do his evil bidding, including helping out with Valen's obsession with recreating torture objects from Edgar Allan Poe's stories. This film kind of felt like a step down from The Black Cat. I mean, for one thing, Karloff's part could have been played by anyone, but I think Universal brought the two back to, kind of cashed in from The Black Cat, which was a big hit for Universal. And unlike The Black Cat, I think this film wasn't really scary, and it really wasn't suspenseful. The makeup for Karloff's disfigured face is Universal's makeup at its worst. And also, Lugosi seems to be overacting in here, and I think it would have been nice if it would have been nice if the director had toned him down a little bit. The film is okay, but I don't think it is Lugosi or Karloff's best at their best. The Invisible Ray, which is more of a science fiction film rather than a horror film. Karloff headlines this film as Janusz Ruk, who convinces a group of scientists, including Dr. Benet, played by Lugosi, to finance an expedition in Africa to find a meteorite that had fallen there many years ago. While Rook finds the meteor, he develops radiation poisoning that can kill anyone that he touches. Dr. Benet develops a treatment, but tells Rook that the expedition is taking Rook's findings back with them. Rook becomes mad with jealousy and plans to kill all that betrayed him. This film is more character-driven than some of the other ones in this collection. Karloff's character develops motives for his plans to kill the people involved with the expedition, including the fact that the radium that was in the meteor could be used for cures, something that Karloff's character was hoping to develop. And while Lugosi isn't not really given that much to do, he does a different type of acting here than, in previous films Lugosi used a rather theatrical, hammy type of acting, but here he's a little bit more natural and, gives a restrained performance. Now, the last film in the box set is Black Friday, and despite being billed second under Karloff, this is more of a starring vehicle for Karloff, but in the end, it's stage actor Stanley Ridges who steals the film from the both of them. Ridges plays a college professor who is hit by a car driven by a gangster named Red Cannon. Karloff plays the professor's surgeon friend, Dr. Sovek, who learns Red has $500,000. So Dr. Sovek then decides to save his friend's life by taking his brain and the gangsters and combining them into the professor's body. Lugosi plays a member of Red's gang, and although it's nice to see Lugosi play something else besides horror, I felt like the part could have been played by just about anyone. The plus side is that the film has a great opening, and Stanley Ridges does a great job playing the dual role of the nice, friendly college professor and the vulgar gangster Red Cannon. But I was disappointed at the film at first because I thought Lugosi was not given much to do, and the fact that Lugosi and Karloff really didn't share any scenes together. But after rewatching it, I thought it was an entertaining modern look at, what was then a modern look at Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And Stanley Ridges ends up owning this film with his performance. Now, I think this movie would have been more at home in the Boris Karloff collection that Universal also put out, but if you try not to think of this film as a starring vehicle for Lugosi, I think you will enjoy it. Well, that's my take on the Bela Lugosi collection. If you want to leave any comments about the video or about the movies in the collection, feel free to do so. Thank you very much for watching.